Welcome to SteamLUG Cast, Season 3, Episode 15. We're recording this live on the 7th of August 2015. My name is Derrida. With me I have Hero.
Hello.
John Drinkwater.
Also known as John. Hey.
What has everybody been playing? How about you, John? You haven't been here for a while. Tell everybody what you've played since the last time you've been on the cast.
Oh, man.
That's going to be quite a few titles. Yeah, I've had quite an absence. It's been quite refreshing to not have to speak my mind about random stuff in Linux gaming. To start off with, Binding of Isaac Rebirth. Been playing the prequel to that on my laptop. Just getting ready to buy it one day, and then this SteamOS sale hit and got it. Really enjoying it. Norbert's been pestering me to just do better. So yeah, I thank him for constantly nagging me to do that. Finally glad that Terraria has been ported over. I've been playing with Sobe and some other guys, so absolutely happy that's here. Performs fairly well. I start a new character. I had got into hard mode on the previous one, but that's a couple of years in the past, so I thought I'd start again. And just been working through getting all the different armor sets and everything else. Really enjoying that. And then just a couple of source titles. Synergy, which we played for an event. Codename Cure, which is a new title that we're going to be playing for an event soon. And Dota for TI5. So what have you been playing, Derrida?
Oh, not much. At least not many different games, but quite a bit of those I did play. First, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, which I'm enjoying quite a bit. And then there is a newly released Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, which I'm also enjoying a lot, even though I'm taking my bloody time.
What is that game like?
Shall we talk about it later when we go into the general release details?
Okay.
All right.
Sure.
So, Hero, what have you been playing?
Quite a few games. I've been playing a lot of Running with Rifles recently, and I'm actually really glad. There's a friend who pirated the game and then decided to buy it. Very happy about that. I had to reward him by playing it a lot with him. I also played some Borderlands, the pre-sequel, co-op with Bean. A lot of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Been getting really into that recently. Still pretty much a noob, but it's fun. And I've also come to realize that when I captain in Guns of Icarus, some people think I'm a troll. I'm not sure why they would think that. It definitely can't be the ship with all flare launchers or mine launchers. I don't know.
No, that is just specialization. They should read up on that.
Right. It's really effective, but it just, I don't know.
So, moving on to SteamLUG community happening. We had some events in the past, the first of which is Chivalry Medieval Warfare. And Hero, you streamed some of it.
Yep, I was streaming, thanks to Corbin requesting that. It wasn't that huge of a turnout, but we played for quite a while. Just messing around, mostly with Team Deathmatch. And that's pretty fun.
Has this become more stable? Because the last time we tried to schedule it, there was like a veto saying it was too unstable on Linux.
Nobody had any stability issues. Everybody that was there was able to play just fine. I'm not sure if their performance is the greatest, but everybody stayed connected. There wasn't any crashing issues.
So, next up there was Blaze Rush, which you also streamed, Hero.
Well, yes, that was ridiculously fun. We had a lot of people show up, and lots of laughs and craziness. That game just works really well with a lot of people.
And after that, there was Synergy, and apparently you guys completed the entire Half-Life 2 campaign, which took you over 8 hours?
I wish I would have stayed, really. I forget what time it was. I left at 3, I think it was. That was, yeah, it was a packed server for most of the night.
Yeah, it was full for quite a while.
We'd just finished the turret section where we were protecting Alex while she was doing some stuff. But yeah, we had 2 of the developers of the Synergy along with us, and at least chatting with one of them. It's really quite good.
Cool. Was it planned that the developers show up, or did they just happen to appear?
That was impromptu.
Yeah, we had one appear, didn't even notice that they were until the second developer was talking to us and saying that they have a custom color on the scoreboard. And I was like, oh, we have two. Oh, cool. And then, spent some time chatting with him. And he was looking for people to help him test a mod, but I went to bed, so I don't know if anyone else helped him with that.
He wasn't able to stick around until the end anyway, so
okay.
After that it ended.
So were you there for the entire event, Hero?
I was not. I believe it was DS and Bean were there for a while, and some other people played until the end.
Oh yeah, you started at Ravenholm, didn't you?
I was going in and out most of the time.
Ah, yeah. So I managed to miss the start sequence.
Space Pop was there also the whole time.
Yep. I'm impressed at the stamina of some of us. And finally we had Worms Clan Wars. Who here was there?
I was there. We had 2 games going for a while. Nemoter was the villain. He was constantly killing everybody and always winning.
Sounds like he was a victor as well.
Victor?
Yeah.
Villain. Picking on all us. Then after a while we took a break and had a lot of fun playing Hedge Wars. So it continued even after I think all of us went to eat.
As for upcoming events, we have Codename Cure right after this cast, and it's a completely free cooperative shooter. But yeah, if you don't have a lot of cash to spare but want to join in, just grab this. It's completely free, not free to play bullshit. It's just like some kind of mod which made it onto Steam.
If you're interested in playing that, start installing it now so it's ready. It's not big at all. It's a 5-player sort of objective-based scenario. You've got a bunch of different maps, so you have to go and set a bomb and then escape, and there are zombies attacking you in waves as you go along.
Tomorrow we will have Planetary Annihilation, which recently had a big update that added asteroids, which I presume you can hurl at your enemy to annihilate him and his planet.
Yep, and that's pretty interesting to me because I was making an Alderaan system in the system editor in-game, which before just had lots of small moons, but now I can actually put asteroids.
That is no moon. And next week on Friday we have Half-Life Deathmatch Classic, which, well, apparently has been quite requested by some people. And after that, on the Saturday, there's Mercenary Kings,
which was recently featured in a Humble Bundle.
Moving on to Steam and Valve news, of which there have been quite a bit, both positive and negative. The big one here is a security flaw which has recently been discovered, where you could reset anybody's Steam password by just knowing his login name if you did not enter any kind of activation pin into the reset prompt, into the reset mask. And then you just got the account, basically.
You just needed to know their username and have a blank password and a blank SteamGuard, right. So if you used SteamGuard, you were completely safe from this. But if you never had SteamGuard activated, then this exploit was there for a very long time. And recently, some people used it on Twitch streamers especially, so it became very public and was fixed right after that.
But that is one of those absolutely unforgivable blunders, in my opinion. This is just something you have to check for. This reminds me of Dropbox back in the day, where you could get access to an account by not entering the password at all, just knowing the account name.
Absolutely. Last year, SteamDB wrote a security letter to Valve and published it a few weeks after they had a response. And we're currently drafting a reply to just give people an update and then to point out some other recent issues in security. And they're getting better, but they still need a bit of a poke.
There apparently has been a bug in Steam with Linux kernel 3.13.0-59 that has to do with accessing library folders. I don't know about that. Care to explain?
For some people that got a regular kernel update, they rebooted their machine, went to load Steam up, and it just could not see any of their library. The kernel patch is already up and available, so it's a bit of a non-story now. But
anybody that was affected by it, it's now completely fixed. There were no side effects afterward.
And now on to some good news. There has been a big sale featuring SteamOS games, meaning Linux games, from the 31st of last month to the 3rd of this month. And there have been quite a few nice games in there. Anybody grab anything? I personally grabbed Shadow of Mordor.
Just Rebirth for me.
I wasn't able to pick anything up, but I thought it was interesting. They had 33 Linux games in their featured list for that sale, and it's just nice to see that they're continuing to push it in the public eye.
Yeah, this is probably more about raising awareness, associating SteamOS with good games, because that was quite a well-curated list. There was no absolute stinker in there. Those were all good games.
Yeah, there were lots of very popular games.
There were very few titles that weren't on SteamOS already. Train Simulator, notably, is not here, but that gives a hint that it's coming.
I think that has been removed a day or two into the sale. They also had the original Binding of Isaac in there. They probably fluffed up, and
yes,
instead they put
switched it
Rebirth
with
in,
Rebirth,
and instead of Train Simulator, they put Euro Truck Simulator in there, which apparently was the intention to begin with. So somebody made a boo-boo.
That's quite a big mistake, isn't it?
Yeah, so as far as I know, the only debut was Shadow of Mordor.
Which is a pretty big debut.
Yes, definitely.
In tech news, there has been an interview with Crow Team about Linux, which was posted on marcusbox.org. Anybody read that?
I skimmed it. I thought it was a good, fair, conversation about their expectations with SteamOS in the future. This actually was an interview from February, and I only saw it recently, and I don't think we'd linked it in the cast before, so I thought we'd include it. And yeah, a really decent conversation, worth reading.
It's interesting they note how appreciative Linux users are. Nice to hear that from developers.
SIGGRAPH 2015 is starting this weekend, and Kronos Group has the list of all their talks, including their Vulkan talk, as well as NVIDIA, which has a Vulkan-related talk on SIGGRAPH as well, where they will show it running on their GPUs, which means their existing GPUs. So this could be interesting. No word about it, though, as of if it's the Linux driver or only Windows driver, but we will see the API we have all been longing for.
Mm-hmm.
Some people before were questioning whether NVIDIA was prepared for the release of Vulkan, as AMD and Intel both seem to have some progress. So this is a nice indicator of that.
I'm absolutely expecting, in my cynical ways, for NVIDIA to rush right past AMD in implementing Vulkan, even though Vulkan is based on Mantle, which AMD invented. I want AMD to prove me wrong, but I'm not very hopeful.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. So, additionally, NVIDIA has a talk titled, "The Time Has Come. Powerful profiling and debugging tools arrive for Linux and OpenGL with NVIDIA's Linux Graphics Debugger," which is nice, because lots of developers complain that there's not enough graphical debugging tools on Linux.
Yeah, this has been a big narrative pushed with the initial big porting wave of bigger titles coming to Linux, and, well, you take it from these people, they know what they do, they know what they want, and, well, here it comes right at the end of the lifespan of OpenGL. I hope these tools make it over to Vulkan as well, where they will be probably a lot more useful in the years ahead. A minor yet a bit major driver update from NVIDIA. They released their 355.06 beta driver. Not a lot of big news in there, except for the initial changes to their build system, which preps the driver for working with Wayland and me in the future. So for end users, it's not really visible at all, but, well,
baby steps.
Stuff is moving. And on the AMD side of things, AMD GPU support was added to Misa's DRM-lib. So, stuff is moving there as well.
And I do believe that's usable right now, but that doesn't mean it's the best experience.
No, it absolutely isn't. As was announced a while back, you probably should expect the next generation AMD cards to be the first one, which are really usable with that, in terms of both the targeting of the driver to that ship and the overall maturity of that driver. Moving on to general gaming news. Taylor's Principle DLC, Road to Gianna, mentioned in Season 3, Episode 13, has now been launched, and the reviews have been good so far. Have you played it?
I've not played that. The base game is still in my backlog of games to play. So, we'll see. I know a lot of people have been really excited about that, though, so pretty interesting.
And the International 5 is currently going on and has an 18 million and some odd dollars prize pool, which is absurd. Even the first ones to be knocked out of the winners bracket, I think they still receive over $1 million per team. Is that correct?
Upper bracket, I think it is.
Yeah, the upper bracket. Even if you lose like your first matchup in the upper bracket, you still get over $1 million.
Which is crazy.
John, you have been following the international more closely. Care to, give us a heads up on what's happening?
How do you surmise such event? I've had quite a few late nights watching as many matches as possible because I really enjoy watching it. There have been some surprise knockouts. I mean, Navi dropped out in a best of one right at the start on the first day. So you're like,
Newbie was out fairly quickly as well, weren't they?
Newbie was out. CDEC beat LGD, which I don't think anyone expected. There was a 2-1 loss, and I can't remember. Team Secret, and that's the one I was thinking of. Being beaten by VP. I didn't think that would happen at all, but it did.
So yeah, really interesting. Lots of movement in competitive Dota. It's interesting to see, like a previous international winner Alliance, they weren't even in the final event. So you can say one thing about Dota, that it is not stale when it comes to the competitive field. Like
Yeah,
last
that's
year's
very
favorite
true.
might just be knocked out even before they enter the international. Hasn't happened this year, but that's how it goes.
eHome has been knocked out already.
It's surprising all round. I think more people thought Cloud9 would do better, but they went out fairly quickly as well. So yeah.
How did you like the dynamic of the game in its current state that it was played on the international, or is being played? I think of all the internationals I've seen, it's been the most flexible. Like it wasn't this one strat or this one hero that you had to pick or ban or you would lose, and it seems really well balanced in the state it's in, for me as a not so experienced Dota player.
I think I've seen an increase in unique heroes being picked, but games are less surprising. I mean, I started watching with TI3, and with the fountain hooks from Pudge, and some of the other heroes just synergizing well, like IO. It does feel kind of samey when nearly every match has got a Gyrocopter or a Queen of Pain, even though they have some variety in the other picks. Some of it's been a bit too similar for my liking. But yeah, it's been really good fun to watch.
TI3, in my opinion, was the best red Dota wins. Whoever split pushes most effectively won, and that was Alliance. And they were a one-trick pony in that regard, in my opinion, and that's why they didn't do so well after that in the international.
But then that's possibly the teams not adapting quick enough through that competition.
True. Moving off
Either
of
way,
Dota, or not, because you want to say something about Dota?
I watched it a little bit. Also, not being very experienced, it's very exciting. The production value and all that is so high. So the casters are doing a really good job, and even when they've had some issues with DDoSing, they were trying to make the most of that downtime, and so on.
Yeah, I mean this international's had a larger increase in pauses, which is a little frustrating, especially since it runs so late for my time zone. But the production value is insane. I was proud to sort of show that off to my family because they're always wondering why I'm watching so many esports and the rest. So, I mean, that did actually happen when the first pause happened, which was over an hour, and they moved on, sadly. But yeah, at least it started well. But I don't want to move on just yet. last night was an All-Stars match. It was a 10v10 playing in Dota Reborn, which is the new client. Did either of you watch that?
No,
I did
I
not.
sadly didn't because it's running so late and I just didn't have the time this year, compared to last year.
It was pretty manic, incredibly enjoyable. If any of the matches you watch, well, if you want to watch one match out of all of TI5, watch the All-Stars one. It's not too lengthy, just over an hour, and the outcome will surprise you. But yeah, it was really good fun. An awful lot of pros, and they had 10 people from the crowd playing as well.
Sounds
and, yeah, it was a
hectic.
really good feeling. Yeah.
So moving on, there's been a Linux exclusive game that is launched on Steam in early access called Don't Be Patchman. This is only available for Linux at the moment, I believe, and there will be a Windows version, but they're currently focusing on SteamOS.
That is it. We had the community member that's working on it naturally talk to me about this, and we knew it had been featured in some sites recently because it's the first exclusive, and he asked if we could mention it, and I wanted to share it with you all.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Has any one of you actually played that?
I watched the trailer. It's really hard to describe what the game's doing.
It looks bizarre in an interesting way, not like the way where you turn your head and want to rinse your brain. This looks interestingly bizarre. So, Natural Selection has received a big update called the Derelict update because it features a new map called Derelict. There have been lots of improvements, but only one Linux-specific change, and for me, it has not seen any performance improvements, so all performance improvements probably went towards the DirectX renderer.
For me, it's definitely better performance. I get a solid 60 FPS the entire time, higher without VSync, obviously, but the performance, I see a big difference. I know that some others have observed the same thing, but there's still some instabilities. As far as I've seen, I've had a few crashes when loading into maps, and I was still able to play it. I played for a while with some friends, but it's interesting. It's nice to see that they're still updating it so much. It's currently a community-run development team.
Yeah, though I'm still really skeptical about that concept of how the community development has to work, that they pretty much are under NDA, give their free work to the developers which make all the money off of it, unless something has changed about that. I always have to mention it because it's shady as balls to me.
I'm not sure exactly how it's set up. I think they might even have their own office.
But do they
But I
get
could be wrong.
paid a share from the sales?
I'm not sure
We do
exactly
not
how it
know.
works.
Is the famous shotgun crashing bug gone yet?
Yes.
That has been gone in
Whew.
the last patch at least already, so yeah.
Right. Yeah, that was a while ago.
Maybe it's time for another event. If anyone's interested, get in touch. So, another game that's been released for Linux, Retro City Rampage DX. This has been on nearly every single platform under the sun.
Including DOS and the NES.
Yeah.
Yes, it got a DOS port at the same time as it got a Linux port. It's like Grand Theft Auto 1, but very pixely, top down. The story is set in the 80s. You meet Doc Brown from Back to the Future, and you're trying to help him build the time machine. And yeah, it's got references to films from that era as well. It's a bit all over the place, but it's mechanically it's decent fun. So if you're into that, get on it.
And here comes the big one. Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor has been released for SteamOS and Linux by our good friends from Feral Interactive. And yeah, this is really a nice big AAA game coming to Linux. I picked it up and I'm enjoying it immensely. It has been described to me by a friend as Assassin's Creed in the Lord of the Rings universe, but I can't say much about that because I never played As Creed. So can any one of you draw that comparison?
I've not played this, but that's the same thing that I've heard. It certainly looks like a very polished game. So I'm interested in picking it up.
I've heard great things about some of the mechanics it has, with the enemy heroes that have memory and track you and the
Yeah,
rest.
it's a very mechanics-focused game. Don't expect anything from the story except for a cool Gollum cameo and some reveals about the rings, but the story is really uninteresting. The meat and bones of that game is the management of the orc captains and war chiefs, where there will be constantly new orcs promoted for the ones that you kill with different abilities, the different power level, weaknesses, and so on. And you just basically have to manage that board, see who comes to the top. You can push your guy, so to speak, to the top
Sounds great.
to weaken Sauron's army, to make him become the war chief, which will be working for you instead of Sauron's. So yeah, there are some interesting mechanics, like sometimes you kill a war chief, not a war chief, a captain, and be done with it. That's what you think. And then after a while he comes back, says, you left me for that, but now I will get you, and then you kill him again. Still not dead, comes back later. And then you kill him again. And that tends to happen sometimes when you're already in the middle of combat with another captain who might just be kicking your ass if you're unlucky, and then you're in real world of trouble when you have two captains around you. So yeah, it has some really interesting elements to it, but they are all hidden in the mechanics. Don't expect to see any great plotty, twisty storyline. It's not in there.
Corbin makes a good point. Do we want to record a spoiler blockade to?
That is actually not a real spoiler as far as story is concerned. That's just something that happens, and there's no hint to. I told you this, but it will be of no use to you because you don't know beforehand which orcs come back.
Get in touch if you were spoiled by that.
So Saltendra Cactus has exited alpha and is now in beta. This means it's mostly complete. One of the biggest things is they added the art for the final boss, and so now there's not very much placeholder left in the game. They're just polishing things, trying to find bugs. They will still be adding features. They're adding some minor things that don't affect the core gameplay.
Now, quite a lot of the SteamLUG admins talk about the daily drives.
I'm indifferent.
The daily drives are interesting because they're different every single time, but the
Yep.
draw can be anything. The main story is very replayable. You can play it through with different characters, or even with the same character, each level can be different depending on how you tackle it. There's also the cutscenes are going to be fleshed out. There's going to be more story as it progresses.
Sounds awesome.
Adventure Capitalist has also been ported to Linux. This is a free-to-play cookie clicker style game, which has been very popular recently. It's one of the top played games on Steam the last time that I checked. Not only that interesting to me, but I know a lot of people were excited. Some people have been using Wine to play it on Linux.
It keeps popping up in my notifications because of Corbin. I think he loves it.
Bean loves it too.
A new expansion for Don't Starve has been announced. It is called Shipwrecked.
That is interesting.
Don't know much about it, so.
Me neither, but I want to point out that I remember when that game was first released in an early alpha state, when one of the first places you could buy it was Chrome's native client, Stuffy Web Store, and then they said, like, 7 months after release or so, we will be done with it, and then the game will be complete and over, and we move on. And now we get the second add-on to that. Things have changed.
Well, the second was sort of rolled back into the main game, wasn't it? The multiplayer.
Yeah, true, but that's even more to the point that they just have not stopped after 7 months. That game has been out for quite some time, and yeah, it's apparently popular enough to warrant new content after new content.
Shipwrecked is single player only, which is one notable thing. Another thing is they're making it in partnership with Cappy, or Capybara Games, who made Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery, as well as other games. So it'll have new characters, new biomes, creatures, seasonal effects, and so on. And as you could probably tell from the name, there will be some sort of naval gameplay. Seafaring.
Star Citizen, it's Linux client. Is it in the stars, or is it coming? Apparently it's coming in the not too distant future, but also the not too close future. So it's in that perfect time spot where you can always say, not quite now.
Yeah, so they were saying they still want to focus on some not Linuxy features before they will start working on this. And one of the things holding them back was that they use some custom graphical effects that they need to adjust in order for it to work with the current version of the CryEngine. So that should be coming eventually, which is nice to know, but not anytime soon. It'll be more than a month, if not a lot more.
I think we can't really put any sort of time slot on that, can we?
Well, they did say that it won't be within a month. So that we can definitely say, based on what they've said. But I think it would be much longer than that.
Confirmation, it won't be soon.
Not release dates are the best release date because they are actually accurate most of the time.
Yeah.
Speaking of not release dates,
Yeah.
Alien Isolation has had a lot of activity in the depots, but no other information.
Some of the porters have been tweeting about it. Apart from that, it's being worked on.
Yay, being worked on.
It's the best activity. Porting.
Or soon we can all be scared.
I really don't want to be scared. I mean, I really want that game, but I really don't want to play it.
I think I'm in the same boat.
That's the problem. I need the mode where there's no alien. I just want to walk around the ship and go, wow, this is the future.
The Space 70s future.
Space British 70s. It's awesome. Trine 3 is coming out of early access on the 20th of August. We've all been looking at this title for quite a while. We're all excited, I think.
Yeah, so...
Confession bear here, I have not even finished the second one yet, but this one looks like it's taking quite a twist on the formula so far, that we have known so far from Trine.
Yeah, they mentioned that the Mac and Linux versions are underway, and that hopefully they'll have something to show soon, which seems to suggest that they'll have a Linux version in early access before it's released. But
it does seem like it might come in hot.
Yeah, we're not really certain what that means, except for soon. So be ready.
Is there any dictionary that says how soon, the maximum time frame for soon is? Like how long?
We should find one.
I do not believe so. We need just a dictionary on our site for all of our not within a month and stuff like that.
I like Norbert's answer. Double what you think.
Oh no. That's between possibly and Valve time, isn't it?
Somewhere around there.
Yep.
For Humble Bundle news, we have the Humble Jumbo Bundle 4, which added Screen Sheet and Freedom Planet with DRM-free and Steam Linux versions to itself. And then there's the Humble Bandai Namco Bundle, which includes a Linux game, actually. There's a Linux game from Bandai Namco called Deadcore, which is this sci-fi-looking first-person platformer.
Yeah, it's sort of a speedrunning focused first-person shooter kind of game.
Deadcore's a bit odd. 3D platforming, and it's very floaty at that.
A sentence you do not like to hear is sorry, Linux players, no planned Linux version at this time, which Aspire uttered when asked about Homefront Remaster Collection, which has been ported to Mac, but as you know, not Linux. And yeah, there are no plans, which just goes to show that they are still a Mac publisher first, but that's not a bad thing. They have to see how they spread their resources. But if you want it, tell him, or tell John Drinkwater, because he has a source code on his hard drive and will port it for you if you give him money. Maybe. I totally made that last part up.
Just a little bit.
That's the biggest disappointing news of a port recently. I really hope that might come over. Yes. Replying to what Derrida said, there used to be a time when you could apply for the source code of the original Homeworld, and you'd sign an NDA and get access to an SVN repository. So I'm sure other people here might have it on their hard disk somewhere.
Can you even do something with that license-wise?
I don't believe so. I mean, I can work on the code. I think I can send contributions back, but I'm not sure I can release any. This is the thing. It was so long ago, I don't have a copy of the original NDA, so I just...
Oh boy.
I can't remember. I know I can't share the source code, and I don't believe binaries can be redistributed.
So you have it under completely useless restrictions, except for looking at it.
It's like all the cancelled ports that I've got on my hard disk that I can't talk about and I can't share.
The burden. So here is one coming straight out of left field, punching you in the face, and then running away with a Harley Davidson and a blonde on the back. It's a Motorhead-themed expansion for Victor Van, the action RPG. That just happened. It's not 1st of April. There will be a Motorhead-themed expansion for that game. I don't know what to say.
craziest tie-in ever.
Yeah,
Seems like Beans is a Motorhead fan.
I don't mind it. I just didn't expect anything.
yeah, it's definitely unexpected and pretty cool. It just the fact that it's happening reminds me of Brutal Legend, and I like Brutal Legend.
Yeah, and also Victorian has been very well received. It is a game I still have on my wish list and want to pick up.
Same.
So here is one I personally find very nice. Homefront: The Revolution has resurfaced at Gamescom 2015 with a nice new trailer that shows quite a lot of gameplay previously unseen. And it's still headed to Linux. Gaming on Linux got confirmation on that, which is nice to know. We have not been forgotten, and it's still an interesting looking game. Looks a lot like Far Cry 3 and 4 to me, but that's not a bad thing because we had neither of those games and they are actually good at what they do. So I'm still looking forward to that one.
What surprised me is some of the initial talk about the Homefront sequel made it sound like I would be completely disinterested. And that new trailer, yep, I don't know what it is, but yep, I'm interested in that game. So,
but they
well
do know how to do their media coverage, right? The first trailer of that game that appeared, the first of the version we are currently seeing, when they were still under a different publisher, that was just 20 minutes or so of unaltered gameplay. That was nice, and this one is also a long slice of nice gameplay. So yeah.
Yeah, and it's nice because it's uncut, just straight gameplay.
It's totally running in convention mode. You can't lose it. You have like 999 Molotovs, and when you throw one, you still have 999 Molotovs on the wall.
Running out in the open, everybody shoots at you. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so some people have complained about the AI being super stupid in that video. I don't want to defend that, but I expect that to be just the convention mode difficulty. This is too stupid even for bad AI these days.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for some good AI. It's been AI in games been pretty terrible for the last couple of years, or the last decade.
The last game that had good AI, in my opinion, was, at least as far as shooters are concerned, Far Cry 2. When you played that on the hardest difficulty, they were pulling off some incredible stunts where you were really getting under fire from one position, and then there was one guy cleverly sneaking through high grass and around rocks to come up behind you.
I liked the AI in Fear, but I was also too scared to ever play that game, so.
Yeah, Fear was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, they were doing quite a lot of things.
And then Fear 2 sort of
completely crapped on that.
Away from that, and then Fear. How do you say Fear 3? I'm not even sure. 3, yeah. That went even further away, and then everyone just cried and gave up.
At this time, you must say that the AI is this stupid because intentionally to force a certain kind of gameplay out, and that's a very linear, very easy to do shooting gallery with, hey, I pop my head out of cover regularly without having any covering fire coming on from my friend, which could totally do it over there.
So, touching back on Homefront, after watching the video and seeing them running around on the buildings and all that, it prompted me to play some Dying Light because I couldn't play Homefront. I wanted to be able to run around in buildings in an open world environment.
And that is a good game as well.
Yes. Paradox had a little presentation during Gamescom, and they have shown off some interesting stuff, like Colossal Order's first addition to City Skylines, an expansion called After Dark, which, you guessed it, introduces a day and night cycle and some special behavior during night, like increased crime rates, and it completely reworks how police stations operate. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that because while I did enjoy City Skylines immensely, it just had very little content towards the end. You just build up your city, and once you managed it fine, there was just nothing happening that could harm you. You were done with the game once you've built it up.
You basically need an alien to come in and destroy it.
And that doesn't happen because there are no such disasters in that game.
I know, shame.
They also showed off Pillars of Eternity expansion on stage, which is to be released on August 25th, and it looks quite interesting. They added some new party members, so you have more flexibility in your party and a new storyline. If you enjoyed Pillars of Eternity, this is probably one to pick up. Even though I think that it might even be free. Is that part of the 2.0 thing they are planning? Do you know that?
I'm not really sure about this expansion.
2.0. Is this the RPG that is adding split screen in the new expansion, or is that a different game?
No, that is one by Obsidian. That's pretty much like Baldur's Gate in its own little universe they created.
Okay.
And a really interesting one, in my opinion, is Stellaris, Paradox's worst kept secret, as they admitted themselves, because it has already appeared on Steam unintentionally. Yeah, and it's a space grand strategy 4X mishmash, which aims to be more accessible to newer players without being less complicated and less deep, which is quite interesting to me because when I tried to get into Crusader Kings, I couldn't get into it because everything was too hard. So many stuff put into stuff. I couldn't get through the menus, and when I tried to play the tutorial, that was so outdated that it was asking me to push a button which didn't exist in the UI anymore. So I hope this will be a lot better.
Yeah, it looks to be sort of like a space Europa Universalis 4, but with more focus on exploration and the procedurally generated universe and all that.
Yeah, even the alien races are randomly generated, and the aim is here to never have games play out the same way, ever.
Yeah, so that looks really interesting.
So what do you think of that, John?
I really can't do that joke, can I?
That's why I
It's
said
terrible.
Please do it.
It looks stellar. Brilliant.
Though really, the screenshots that they've shown off are quite pretty.
Reasonably pretty, yeah. And it's the sort of game I'm interested in. Different genre. Yeah, it's a good mashup.
In crowdfunding news, we have Everspace on Kickstarter. It's an arcade space sim with roguelike elements based on Unreal Engine 4, made by former Galaxy on Fire 2 developers right out of Germany. They do definitely plan a Linux release, even though they are stating it nowhere on the campaign, but our dearest Corbin asked and got that as a reply.
Hooray, Linux support.
Awesome.
And this game looks pretty cool too. A different take on a space shooter in some ways. One of the unique features is that they reward death, so every time that you die they give you upgrades for your ship or something like that, so that it's a little easier to progress.
And I guess this brings us to the end of this week's cast.
Wait a moment. The game I was thinking of was Divinity Original Sin Enhanced.
Yes, which will be coming to Linux after they completely did not port the original version, as they said they would do.
Yes. The reason I was thinking of it is because it's got split screen co-op.
Oh, okay.
And that's a feature far more games need. Sorry, that's been one of my things I've been mentioning quite often on the
Yeah,
cast.
sure.
Is split screen co-op. Because I have a twin and she likes games as well. And I want to play more games with her.
You should play Salt Android Cactus.
She's not that fond of bullet hell games.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for listening in and joining us live, and everybody who listens to the recording anytime down the line. You can give us all the feedback you want on our email address, cast@steamlug.org, via IRC, on Freenode, #SteamLUG, Twitter @SteamLUG, Google+, why are we doing Google+, plus SteamLUG, and on YouTube, the channel is called SteamLUG. We've got our branding in order. See you, everybody, and bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
As for upcoming events, we have Codename Cure right after this cast, and it's a completely free cooperative shooter, which you play cooperatively. Well, that was obvious.
Corbin says within 2 months. We'll see. Oh, okay. Never mind. Not within 2 months. You can fix that in the edit.
Not
Yes. Just add this in front of him saying it. Not.